Hey everybody, this is Dustin, Service Specialist. So we've got a 2019 Genesis Supreme Vortex in here, and it's a 3219V. And so it came in originally for an awning fabric, which we're still replacing. It also had a tire blowout, and so it damaged the fender skirt, the under material, the underbelly, and the J metal. So we've got all that fixed. While it was here, and I've known this customer for years. While it was here, I said, hey, Mr. Customer, I won't say his name, but I'm sure he'll see this video. I said, hey, bud, have you done any suspension work? All your leaf springs are looking flat. One of them's lost a band on it, which has caused the springs to fan out. Brought him down here, had him come out and look it over with me to show him how the springs were actually bent and, failing. And then the shackle links were all worn. This is a toy hauler, folks, so it's a lot of weight. He's got a nice unit inside. So also we're going to talk about some maintenance too on the brakes with him, because we see a lot of, grease that's thrown around from the dust cap and whatnot. But anyways, make sure that you're staying up on your suspension components. This one had standard shackle links. It had standard stock springs. This is actually a 7,000 pound axle. These are Lippert axles. So we're replacing the springs. We're actually going to remove the old, I believe it was the yellow. Do you remember what the center link for the equalizer was? I know it's the yellow Lippert. Ecoflex, yeah. So all the bushings and that were worn out. Do you have all that stuff over here off to the side?
Yeah, there's a wagon over here with all of it in there.
All right, so I'm going to go walk that way. Hello, everybody. So, right in front of the forklift? All right. So here's a glimpse into our shop. Try to keep it pretty clean. So Gino saved all the stuff for the consumer so he can see it. But here's all the old springs. When they were on the unit, there was almost no camber at all to the spring. And they were looking like extremely bent. Then as you can see here, see how oblong that hole is in that spring? And it's even separated. It's not circle. Same thing with that one. And then look at the gap on that. So the bushings were worn, the bolts were wearing. All these were completely, worn out and wallered. And so same thing over here. You can see, look how bad that bushing is. All right, that bushing's gone. And it actually opened up the eye on the spring. Same thing with this one. The bouncing, opened up eye on the spring, and they're worn inside as well. That one's, I don't know if I can get to it. That one's pretty much metal to metal in there. But, so when this stuff goes bad and fails, it causes additional vibrations, chatter, movement. It can cause movement in the U-bolts. It can cause more of a rough ride. So we're replacing all that stuff. And you actually got the new stuff coming out, right?
Yes, sir. Setting it all up right now.
You got to end up having to take out the bushings and put the bronze bushings in here. So
right there.
This is Gino. If you haven't met him before,
Hi.
hey, what's up, Gino? So here's just a comparison. Look how thick those guys are compared to this one over here. Can't get really to a side view of it, but that's 2.5, 3 times as thick. The U-bolts, these are heavy duty and these are wet bolts. So we're going to be doing that. Sorry, I stole your parts. Got new U-bolts. Anytime you take off, U-bolts on your coach, you want to put some new U-bolts on. This is going to be the new Dexter Easy Flex. They've just recently started making them in red. So we're going to be putting these guys on there. This is rated for clear up to 8,000 pounds. And that's on a 35-inch center to center, off of the hubs itself, or the spindles, or however you want to look at it, the grease fittings, whatever you want to talk about. But anyways, you can see already the arch difference in this versus those that are over there. Keep in mind when you're towing and you've got a toy hauler and you've got that much weight in it, that these springs don't last for that long, depending on what kind of traveling you're doing, going down up and down rough roads, whatnot. Again, he's sorting through all the stuff, getting everything all dialed in and laid out, getting all his bushings replaced. So these nylon bushings, we're going to drive all those out. We're going to put all these bronze bushings inside there, and then that's going to give them the ability to go ahead and have a grease fitting on there to exert it. Same thing with these. There's still bushings, but look how thick that material is, man. That's huge. So same thing here. There's still a bushing here, but it's real rare that those go bad. Even the centers here, it's real rare. I've only seen just a few, and that was people that did some serious traveling. And I don't know how long you think those have been around that I know of, at least 20 years maybe?
Yeah, something like
I mean, it's been around for a long time. So if you have any of the other versions, you know, look up Dexter Easy Flex. We got a bunch of videos on there. We got a bunch of videos and posts with Gino. And so he's, like I said, he's going to be out here replacing that stuff on this Vortex. Try not to get the license plate in there. Not that anybody's going to take the time to look it up or do anything with it, but, you know, just trying to do courtesy. But so he's going to have him come in here. I'm going to have him throw some paint up on here where it's all rusted. He's going to scuff it up a little bit just as a courtesy for the customer while we're in here. Same thing with the awning. He's replacing the awning. As you can see on here, and I'll come back and do it in another video in a minute, but there's a lot of streaks. This side of his coach is the side that sets in the sun the most. And I'm going to talk about some streaks here in a minute in another video. So, all right, well, stay tuned for more. If you haven't joined our Genesis Supreme in the RV shop with Dustin and the guys, check it out. It's on Facebook. We also have a bunch of Instagrams, YouTubes, and so on. And that way you can follow us, see what's going on with the coaches, what we're doing. And same thing with all the other manufacturers, every major brand. So this video is pretty much suspension and maintenance, you know. So, but if you have any other questions or whatever, feel free to shoot us a call or send us an email or post a comment in here, and as time allows, we'll try to reply back to you. All right, thanks so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.